So I did a TikTok live stream a while back, and it was on the topic of me not thinking that stand-up comedy is actually funny. And most stand-up comedy, I should say. And I feel like I made some really valid points. But what blew my mind was almost everyone who joined to talk to me just so happened to be a wannabe stand-up comedian. And in them talking to me, I found it so awkward and unbelievably in line with what I would have expected, just based on the stereotype of a stand-up comedian, that I found it almost impossible to argue with them because I just felt bad. Here's the thing. I don't like stand-up comedy anymore. And I don't think most big stand-up comedians are actually funny. And no, I'm not talking about like the Rogan sphere that everybody talks about, which we all know. Bert Kreischer sucks. Tom Segura is a dickhead. Brendan Shaw, blah, blah, blah. Everybody knows. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people like Bill Burr, who recently is having his, his liberal meltdowns. And Bill Burr has just never actually been funny. Bill Burr has always only been a typical abrasive Boston dickhead. That's all Bill Burr has ever been. I've never found Bill Burr funny, even when I did like stand-up comedy. I'm talking about people like him. I'm talking about people like Louis C.K. Louis C.K. isn't funny either. And I'll get into that in a second, but before you go, oh, well, you just don't have a good sense of humor. I do have a good sense of humor. You don't have to believe I do, but I can find many different types of comedy funny. I can find them appealing, different brands, different types of humor. I get why people find certain things funny, but I think the vast majority of stand-up, people have been tricked into thinking it's funny, and it's really not. And what I mean by that is, there is, in comedy clubs and in comedy specials, social proof. The social proof of the audience clapping around you, you feeling socially pressured like you should laugh, like you're supposed to laugh. And I realized maybe a couple years ago when I was watching some comedy special or other, I don't even remember what, but I realized, actually I think it was Dave Chappelle, who also, same thing, another big name, it's just stand-up comedy is not funny. I realized while I was watching the special that I was like kind of making myself laugh. And I think that's what almost all of you are doing too. I think that's what almost everybody does. I realized that if I didn't try to laugh, like actually laugh, like I felt I was supposed to, the most it would get out of me is like a, oh yeah, that's witty. That's it. And since then, I've conducted the same experiment with other people's stand-up, big names like those I've just mentioned. And the same thing occurs where if I'm not trying to laugh intentionally, I just won't laugh. Now, other things will make me legitimately laugh. Real life things happen. Something unexpected happens. I'm with friends. Someone says something totally out of left field and out of pocket, and I burst out laughing and I can't help it and I'm dying. I've had that happen to me watching podcasts with some comedians. But there is something about the nature of stand-up comedy itself. It just isn't funny. There's something desperate and pathetic about a guy standing on stage in front of an audience and trying to get them all to laugh at his funny jokes. And now I just don't even like what stand-up is. But also I think a lot of the comedians that are successful in stand-up are way overhyped because of just the way society, how we've developed socially, and like there have been phases where it's like, oh, it's real people, you're around people and someone says, oh, this guy's funny, he's so edgy, or this guy's funny, he's so witty or random or whatever. For whatever reason, you hear that, and that kind of drops it into your mind that you should also find this person funny, or at the very least maybe you should give them a listen, or whatever. It makes you more prone to thinking or to behaving as if they were funny, even if they're not actually funny, because that's just social pressure. And you don't have to believe in social pressure or believe that it affects you, but it does. It affects everybody, except maybe like a total sociopath or psychopath, someone who just like has that part of their brain like turned off. And I remember Eric Andre saying something like this, like years and years and years ago. I was watching some interview with him. I'm going to see if I can find the clip. But he was basically saying like there's like this trend in stand-up comedy of comedians being like, oh, my life's such a mess, and being just kind of like pathetic people. And that really is how a lot of them are. Even the big ones. I mean, look at Louis C.K. He's pretty much like, and you can make an argument for like you need to be self-depreciating or self-deprecating in comedy to an extent, but there's also a point where it's just like, okay, you're just being a fucking lame cuckold. You're not someone who really should be listened to, and you take yourself super seriously like Louis C.K. does, and I'll delve into that too. But like, Louis C.K. fucking talks about how pathetic he is while his wife's like begrudgingly beating him off in like their daughter's bedroom or something. It's like, is that really funny? Is that funny? Are you just laughing at him for being pathetic? And if you are, why the fuck does he then take himself so fucking seriously that he begins a comedy show in an arena, a full ass arena, with fucking Ravi Coltrane, John Coltrane's son, doing like a fucking 30 minutes or like 40 minute, like a long freeform jazz set.
He got canceled for showing his penis, and you were pretty much on board. And then something weird happened with this cancel culture stuff. And then Louis C.K. came back, and you almost are all supporting Louis C.K. now as a way to like fight back on cancel culture. But you got to remember, Louis C.K. was canceled because he was a sick weirdo who took his dick out and jacked off in front of a girl and held the door closed. And then once he came, went, you could go. And then she escaped. This guy wasn't canceled because of offensive jokes.
And Louis C.K. being like, oh, please respect these guys. I love these guys. It's like, what are you doing? This is a comedy show. No one paid to come here to watch freeform jazz. But he thinks he's all highfalutin high society because he is now a celebrity. Whether he deserves it or not, we can, have a difference of opinion on that. But he takes himself so seriously that he's going to subject his stadium audience to a freeform jazz show that they didn't sign up for before he even gets to the comedy, which they did pay for. And there's a bunch of comedians that take themselves way too seriously, just like Louis C.K., like fucking Bill Burr. Him with his fucking cigars and shit. It's
It never shuts off, so cigars is good for that. But then you're fucking wired from the tobacco. So
Yeah.
now I gotta lay off those things. But then I have all these cigar smoking friends now, and there's this whole fucking you can't get rid of cigars because there's this big thing like, try this one, try this one. So it's like you give away 3 and you get 5 back.
Yeah.
And your humidors just keeps going up.
And then everyone just buys you cigars because they hear you're kind of into them. So they're like, oh, Christmas is coming. Get them a cigar. Everybody gets you cigars.
Kind of into them is not the word. I fucking love them to an unhealthy point. So I'm.
Well, comedy's a sport. You hit or you sit. You know what I love about the...
like, I like cigars. If you fucking go and make a podcast, though, where you're smoking cigars, it is because you are not manly. You are not a man, but you are trying to put on the outfit of a caricature of what a man is supposed to be because you're compensating for something. You're never going to catch me fucking, like, talking or discussing cigars. I'm just not going to, like, fucking pontificate over cigars. It's just, that's just gay and lame. It's like, if I smoke a cigar, it's because I want to feel like Blondie from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. When Bill Burr smokes a cigar, talks about a good cigar, it's because he's compensating for the fact that he's never been considered a guy's guy or manly in his life. He's always been scrawny and ginger. Had a hard time, I'm sure, in school. Which is also where his current attitude comes from. The way, his style of comedy, I guess. And there's other comedians too, like Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle is one of those comedians where I watch his stuff and I'm like, oh yeah, that's witty. And that's about it. There's nothing that is going to make me belly laugh, like actually laugh, like I can't stop myself from laughing right now. In fact, there's nothing that would make me laugh outside of me trying to laugh, like I was saying. And again, I think it's the same thing for most other people, whether or not they want to admit it. And I don't just hate stand-up comedy for the sake of hating stand-up comedy. It's just bothers me more and more that it's not that people take it like it's some like fucking super serious, like important thing. It's not. Like, people will, like one of these guys that was in my TikTok live. Oh, this guy in my TikTok live, he comes in, he's like immediately talking about how he's, I just don't understand because I've never been a stand-up comedian. But he understands because that's what his dream is to be a stand-up comedian. And he goes to open mics and stuff, and I don't understand how hard and how it is and how much you have to practice, and you have to be willing to get up in front of an audience and just eat shit a million times. And I know all of that. I've heard all of it before. I've listened to comedians talk about it. I know how it goes, okay? I'm not willing to do it. I don't feel the need to have people think that I'm funny on stage. It's just not something I crave. So, no, I haven't done open mics. I don't want to do open mics. But I know what you're saying because I've heard it a million times before. Still, the fact is, it's pathetic. It's still pathetic. And this guy fit the bill for exactly what I'm describing in this video. And he was also trying to make the point of, at some point when he was in my live, he was like, oh, well, it's just the Rogan sphere that's ruining comedy. It's the Rogan sphere. It's not the fucking Rogan sphere, dude, because he said the exact same shit in argument against me that fucking Joe Rogan says all the time, which is shit like, jesters used to be the only people who could like call out the king. It's why comedy is this really important thing that's like commentary on society, and like comedians are the people who tell it like it. I'm like, dude, it's not fucking important. Stand-up comedy is not an important thing. You will never make it an important thing. It is not, you are not the people charged with calling out society and like making people realize the errors of their ways and like all the problems with the world. It's you people don't even have your own lives together. Seriously, how many of these fucking comedians are drug addicts, alcoholics, weird forms of perverts, gay, like, dude, how, oh my gosh, who was the fucking guy that was like, all the comedians and like the Kill Tony crowd were like talking about, at some show, like snuck off to the bathroom to like fuck a tranny. Who he knew was a tranny. He just wanted to fuck a tranny in the bathroom at the comedy show because he's a weird horn dog. Like, that's who stand-up comedians are. You don't get to tell the rest of the society in the world what they're doing right and wrong when that's you. Sure, you have a lot of money. You have a lot of money for doing something that's fucking retarded and not important. The world goes on without the existence of stand-up comedy. Honestly, I find these days sketch comedy is funnier. And so this is just on multiple fronts. I'm finding more and more that I hate stand-up comedy. It's what it is not funny. There's funnier forms of comedy. The people doing it and who are successful at it suck. And people take it way too fucking seriously. Take it as an art form. It's not. Stand-up comedy, I mean, you could call anything an art form, pretty much. And yes, I believe that it takes, to some degree, like, honing your skill, the cadence of how you talk, how you tell a joke. And if you want to use those things to consider it an art form, sure. It's not a very important art form, though, okay? It just isn't. There are comedians that I like, okay? There are comedians like, I like Shane Gillis. I generally like Shane Gillis, but even he, who I like, he does this like cucked, like black dudes are so can jump high and run faster and they're stronger, and does shit like that. That same kind of like cucked, pathetic attitude sometimes, and he's like terrified of actually straight up saying what like his political beliefs are. Caters to both sides simultaneously to the point where both sides think he's on their side, being left and right. Like, I've interacted with people online on the left who swear up and down that he's actually a Democrat and he's just he plays the part of a Republican and tricks all these stupid Republicans. And then I've heard Republicans say basically the exact same thing the other direction. It's just, it doesn't matter almost any stand-up comedian. I can't even think of one stand-up comedian who isn't just like kind of pathetic in one way or another. They're pathetic, they're not that smart, but they desperately want to be seen as smart or popular or whatever. Same thing with Dave Chappelle. I remember I was watching Sam Hyde when they had Shane Gillis on the first time, and Shane Gillis this was just after his career started popping off. He talked about how he went to like one of Chappelle's parties, and he was like, and Chappelle's just standing on stage, you know, above everybody, smoking a cigarette, and I don't even remember what the fuck he was saying, but and Shane was like not throwing shade at Chappelle or anything. He was like, yeah, it's awesome.
Who else is at what the kind of party is that where Anthony Anderson's there for Dave Chappelle comic parties? It fucking sounds cool. Stand-up world's cool.
It's not. It's embarrassing that I keep going to these things.
Why?
All my other friends like, I'm not going to that. That's lame. And I keep
Why is it lame?
up. I mean, I agree. I think it's interesting to go just see what happens.
Is Dave Chappelle there?
Yeah.
Who's your cool ass friend? Brad Pitt? It's like, dude, don't go to that. It's lame. It's me, Brad.
It's wild, dude.
That's ridiculous.
It's wild. Chappelle stands on a stage a lot of the time. And the party just goes on underneath him. And he'll bring out, what's sick is when he does that show, he'll bring rappers out.
He stands on a stage?
Yeah.
Does what?
Smokes a cigarette and talks. Occasionally he'll just be like, everybody listen, I'm better than everybody here. And then go back to standing. It's pretty fun. And then he brings out Busta Rhymes.
He's all jacked Busta Rhymes or fat Busta Rhymes?
Well,
he's jacked, fat
tough to
Busta
tell.
Rhymes.
Yeah, he's jacked and
He's
fat.
just puffed.
But to me, all of that screams is, I'm Dave Chappelle. I've never felt black enough or powerful enough. I am here to be the cool guy now. I'm doing this to be the cool guy. But it's just lame. At the end of the day, stand-up comedy is lame. It is not the funniest form of comedic entertainment. It just sucks.